See? Wasn't me. Call the meeting to order. Pledge of Allegiance, Councilmember Richardson. Roll call.
Mayor Larkey, Mayor Pro Tem Pryan,
Here.
Councilmember White,
Here.
Councilmember Thompson,
Here.
Councilmember Davidson,
Here.
Councilmember Lawson,
Here.
Councilmember Richardson,
Here.
Councilmember McCallum,
Here.
Councilmember Johnson.
Here.
We have a quorum. I have personal appearances, but no names, so we get
No.
to skip that one.
Right.
Unfinished business. Motion approving final reading of Bill 2025-44.
An ordinance approving a special use permit to allow a vehicle repair major land use in a C2 general commercial zoning district at 215 North Scott Avenue.
Present. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Anyone going to discuss this? Any questions? All right.
Mayor Pro Tem Pryan,
Aye.
Councilmember Lawson,
Aye.
White,
Aye.
Richardson,
Aye.
Davidson,
Yes.
Johnson,
Aye.
McCallum,
Aye.
Thompson.
Yes.
Motion passes. Number two, motion approving final reading of Bill 2025-45.
An ordinance approving a final plat for Jerry and Munoz Auto, a one-lot subdivision on 0.45 more or less acres located at 215 North Scott Avenue in the city of Belton, Missouri.
Present. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, let's vote.
Mayor Pro Tem Pryan,
Aye.
Councilmember Davidson,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
White,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
McCallum,
Aye.
Lawson,
Aye.
Richardson.
Aye.
Motion passes. Motion approving final reading of Bill 2025-46.
An ordinance approving a voluntary annexation petition from the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission for annexation of 58 Highway between the Canadian Pacific Kansas City Railroad tracks west to the intersection of Route D and north along Route D approximately 1,666 feet.
Present. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, let's vote.
Councilmember Johnson,
Aye.
Davidson,
Yes.
White,
Aye.
Richardson,
Aye.
McCallum,
Aye.
Lawson,
Aye.
Thompson,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Pryan.
Aye. Motion passes. Motion approving the final reading of Bill number 2025-47.
An ordinance annexing right-of-way from the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission for the annexation of 58 Highway between the Canadian Pacific Kansas City Railroad tracks west to the intersection of Route D and north along Route D approximately 1,666 feet into the city of Belton, Missouri.
Present. Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Let's vote.
Councilmember Richardson,
Aye.
Thompson,
Yes.
McCallum,
Aye.
Davidson,
Yes.
Johnson,
Aye.
White,
Aye.
Lawson,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Pryan.
Aye. Motion passes. New business. Number one, motion approving first reading of Bill number 2025-48.
An ordinance approving the 25th Amendment to the Old Town Belton redevelopment plan to approve the 406 Main Street project as redevelopment project 2025-2 and to authorize tax abatements as described therein.
You're up.
I would actually say, Mayor Pro Tem, at this point, it would be appropriate for you to open the public hearing.
See, I knew you
Let's
shouldn't
do a
have-
motion in a second first.
Oh, yeah.
Present. Second.
We have a motion and a second, and at this time, I will open a public hearing regarding the proposed 25th Amendment to Old Town Belton redevelopment plan for redevelopment project 20-25-02 pursuant to RSMO Section 353.110.3, subparagraph 2. Is anyone here to talk for or in favor of or not in favor of this project? All right, I'm seeing no movement. I will close the public hearing. And now you're up.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and council members. The item before you tonight is an amendment to the Old Town Belton redevelopment plan. Applicant and the owner at 406 Main Street, Gregory Schroed, is requesting project approval for $30,000 for improvements throughout the building. The estimated property taxes with these improvements could increase the property from $2,153 annually to roughly $2,611 annually over the 10-year abatement period. Although there will be a short-term decrease in taxes for the taxing entities, the long-term impact is positive by encouraging reinvestment in Old Town Belton. If the project is approved by council tonight, staff will prepare a memorandum of understanding, the quitclaim deed, and tax certificate for approval by the Old Town Belton Redevelopment Corporation. The requested project follows the Old Town Belton Redevelopment Plan policy adopted by council and the corporation in 2021. Staff does recommend approval, and the Old Town Belton Redevelopment Corporation Board recommended unanimous approval of the project back in July. I'm happy to answer any questions about the project or the application itself.
Any questions?
I noticed in the packet, the pictures are all old. Do we have any current, because they've already started working on the inside of the building?
Yes, so.
And they've done started the outside.
So the bulk of the work within the application is for the relocation. So there's going to be some plumbing, electrical, some brick and wall restoration that has to occur. A lot of the work that has already started has been the demolition and some of the removal of like the old flooring and some of the wall panels. What we have told the applicant is any of that work, and he's been doing it himself, any of that work that is done on his own would have to at least come after council approval this evening. And so we have the permit approved. Work has not begun yet on the other kind of required items through like the mechanical, the electrical, the plumbing items.
Because I know he's painted the front of the building. And he's started the demolition on the inside of the building. So I thought we couldn't start any improvements.
So the individual improvements wouldn't count towards the final abatement during the cost certification process. And so if there was work that was done before approval, the owner still has to submit receipts and items that I have to do a cost certification process on. So if that happens before the date of approval, then those individual items won't be counted towards that overall abatement.
I have a question. So just for clarification, two questions for clarification. One, demolition has already been done, and that may be included in the $3,000 listed on the application.
Yes, I believe demolition, he had estimated at a $3,000 out of the $30,000.
Okay. And so what you're telling us is that some of that work has already been done, and perhaps a great deal of it has already been done. Is that correct?
The demolition, yes.
Okay. And so at the conclusion, you would have the opportunity then whether or not to certify that 3,000 as part of the abatement.
That is correct.
And so if we approve this with this in, that doesn't necessarily mean the $3,000
Correct.
would be included.
Yes, and just kind of for clarification for the council, within the policy, there is even a division of interior, exterior, and the board gave some latitude on this project, being that the bulk of some of the work is interior. But again, it was, trying to draw that line of if work had already started, then we have, those just wouldn't be eligible before council approval.
Okay, I think that's all the questions I have. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Not exclusive to this project. I will say, Councilmember White and I sit on the Old Town Belton Redevelopment Board, and the last, 6 months worth of meetings, I feel like we've discussed the guidelines as they are and how we can tighten them up and improve on them. We have had applications come in where work has already been started, and generally the advice is, hey, stop. If you want this on the abatement, you have to wait for the board to approve and then the city council to approve. And then the cost certification, which Mr. Ike explained really well during our last meeting, and I might hit him up to kind of define the process that staff goes through on the back end, just to make sure that everything's on the up and up. All that to say
as a board, we see room for improvement in some of our definitions, whether or not something constitutes an emergency, if that would allow work to move ahead. And then communication between, say, our codes and building permits being issued, and then the Old Town Belton board or staff being aware of what exactly is being done on what timeline. Because we had some projects come up that are a little fuzzy, and your discomfort with that is our discomfort with that. So we're trying to avoid more issues in the future.
Go ahead.
You maybe don't go in as much detail as last time that we had this question, but can you please remind us how you do the cost certification?
Absolutely. So at a high level, we require all of the receipts, paid invoices, any other costs that were incurred during the lifetime of the entirety of the project have to be turned in to the city, to me. And what I do then from there is we verify that the receipts are valid. So if it's real simple, it's a Home Depot receipt or something that, they purchase supplies for, very easy to go in and verify that that's a valid receipt. If it's an invoice from a licensed contractor, we make sure that the contractor is licensed, that they are licensed both with the city and the state, if required. We also typically do just phone calls to verify that the invoice is valid, it was paid in full, that there weren't any other outstanding issues with that invoice. In some cases, I've even had where, a good example is with a commercial property, where they had a contractor come in that had quite a bit of staff that worked on the project. We ask for a certified payroll and just verify with the vendor or the contractor that these folks did in fact get paid. They did actually work on this project. So we do a pretty extensive vetting of all the receipts that get turned in before we certify it and then send it to the county for the abatement.
In this particular case, where we don't have a certified contractor, if you will, or vendor, or whatever you just referred to them as, we have an individual doing a lot of work on their own. How do we, confirm something like demolition, where there's not going to be a lot of receipts other than maybe some gloves?
Right. Kind of speaking frankly on this one, this is going to be probably one that we won't be able to certify, even if it were done after council approval. Just because short of just receiving a sheet of paper that says, here's how many hours I worked on the project, we can't use that to certify. Say we were audited and someone, an auditor came in and said, we want you to show us what you used to prove up the amount of hours that were actually used. Someone just keeping a hand tally of their hours, I don't feel comfortable submitting that as a certified cost. Unless there was something in terms of, I did this work myself and I was able to be out there with our inspection staff to inspect the work that was being done, or we had some other verifiable way that we could show, yes, X number of hours were done in this area for this demolition or this work. It doesn't quite rise to that level of a certified cost in the project. And that is something that we can definitely work on from a board policy side. But it's a challenge sometimes.
And I would
And
note,
it's certainly not the first project that has submitted hours of, I worked this project on my own in my home, that we've had to go back and say, unless we have another way to verify this, we can't accept those.
I would also note for council and the public that the current plan policy does call out self-help labor, and the key there is that city staff will coordinate with applicant to track and verify the amount that will be included as an applicable cost, which goes towards what Mike is saying. A lot of the times when it comes to self-help labor that we can easily know, like, yeah, it takes about an hour to hang that, 10 cabinets, something like that. That's okay. Once it starts getting into fuzzy areas of, I spent 50 hours demoing this wall. Well, we can't track that unless you coordinated with us to tell us, hey, I'm going in to start. Hey, I'm leaving now. Here's what I did. So there is currently a statement regarding it, and the process is just developed on a case-by-case basis with staff, depending on what sort of work the applicant is seeking to certify.
Brought me to another question, and maybe this is one that we'll take offline, but how often, imagine we see this from, actually more often than maybe not, where we have some work that can't be certified then. I imagine that's fairly common.
I would say, without looking at my spreadsheet directly, because a lot of our projects are residential projects, it's a homeowner who's doing the landscaping themselves. Or
Right.
they're doing some of the cleanup themselves. We have not really, counted that toward an overall abatement, because a lot of times the materials that they've purchased, plants that they've purchased, other things, and that maxes them out on the abatement. And so to come back and say, hey, for you to even hit your minimum, we still need you to turn in hours or have some sort of process. It's never become that.
It's usually not a problem.
Correct.
Okay, so the application doesn't always reflect what gets certified at the end. It's just what they are submitting as an application.
Submitting as an application and giving the board an opportunity to at least weigh in on, does this meet policy of eliminating blight, improving the look and feel of downtown, et cetera, et cetera. And so if someone's putting in there a whole bunch of items that do none of that, it gives the board a chance to come back and say, hey, let's talk through this or change this or maybe have a conversation, versus, someone who's coming in and saying, yeah, I'm absolutely cleaning up the front yard, and, at least gives them kind of some parameters that they're working within.
Right?
Have we in the past had people that had to do work and you didn't allow it in the abatement process? That for some reason that something came up that they had to do, but they knew ahead of time going in with the application process, and you've had to say, I'm sorry, that can't be included, even though you had to do it?
Yes, we have.
Okay. Do you have examples of that, or?
One example, two examples kind of come to mind quickly. One, it was an individual who had a very large tree fall in their yard, took out a portion of their fence, and I think even damaged some concrete. As they were getting the tree removed and the fence repaired, one of our inspectors noticed that they didn't have a fence permit. And so started the conversation and said, hey, by the way, if you're doing other improvements, we have this program. But when I started the conversation and was fairly upfront with her, said, absolutely love the fact that you're cleaning this up, but you can't do this work has to stop. She was able to stop the work, and we were able to kind of get that project through the process. However, because that tree crew was on site and was cleaning up that tree, we did not include that tree cleanup as part of that cost certification at the end of the project.
Go ahead.
Okay, back to my question. Now, when on the application where it says, I understand that any scope of work that has been started at the time of this application or during the application review process is ineligible and cannot be included in the total investment amount for the tax reabatement. So with the coffee shop, so would the painting not be included?
Correct.
Would the
If that has been done before.
demolition be no longer considered?
If that has been done before, and I've not had a chance to walk down today, but if those items have been completed already, then they would not be included as part of that cost certification process.
With the checks and balances, he would turn in a receipt for paint. It would be from last week,
Right,
let's say, and that would be an easy call.
correct.
Any other questions? Okay, voice vote. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Any other motions? Number 2, motion approving the first reading of bill number 2025-49.
An ordinance approving the 26th Amendment to the Old Town Belton redevelopment plan to approve the 408 Main Street project as redevelopment project 2025-3 and to authorize tax abatements as described therein.
Present. Second.
We have a motion and a second. I will open the public hearing regarding the proposed 26th Amendment to the Old Town Belton redevelopment plan for the redevelopment project number 2025-03 pursuant to RSMO section 353.110.3 subparagraph 2. Would anyone like to speak for or against this project?
I am
We would invite you to come up to the mic and give your name and address, please.
My name's Michelle Mellinger. I live at 704 Main Street. We filled out our application for this project and the next one that's on the agenda on July 21st. And I paid the fees on July 23rd. They would have been filled out much sooner, but Chris is unable to communicate with city staff, so now that is now my job. So I had to take this completely over from him. Otherwise, I would have had it done earlier. Plus, our lender quit in the middle of all of this, so we had to start the entire loan process again. So we actually began this whole thing in June, and we just got the paperwork turned in on that June 21st day. I turned in the entire packet, every piece of everything that he needed. It was our understanding that there was a meeting to be taken place on June 30th July 30th, with the Old Town Board, where this would have been on their agenda to pass, whatever, and it was canceled. So we had a very strict timeline that we had to stick to in regards to this, because we had a terrible situation going on with the roofs. They have been leaking and leaking, and they've been patched and patched on those buildings, and we had a roofer that was able to get them in mid-August. That is why it was imperative that we got this approved like at the end of July, but then it didn't happen. Through no fault of ours. It had nothing to do with us why this meeting did not take place. So we thought that city council would have gotten this a lot sooner than they did to be able to approve. So we're just asking that the things that we have already done be accepted, even though we do have one payment left to the roofer, and I intentionally left it open so that this work is not technically completed because of this issue. So I just want to make sure that all this money that we spent and all these improvements that we're trying to do to these buildings is actually going to be approved, because I had everything turned in and ready on time. So if anybody has any questions, and I was also under the impression that from the city manager, Joe Warren, and Matt Wright, that, and I have emails from them, that in emergency situations, that it was not an issue to do this. So if anybody has any questions, I'm willing to answer them.
Go ahead.
How long have you owned the building?
2000.
Okay. And I believe that the 353 program's been available since 2021, is that correct?
Correct.
And I believe you testified, or you stated, that you were aware that the roof was leaking
Yes.
previously.
It had been patched, though.
Okay. But you knew there were problems.
Yep.
Did you seek a 353 prior to this year?
We had filled one out, I guess, for maybe the house or something. We just had to be able to get the loan to pay for the roof, because a commercial roof expense, just the roof is $50,000. Not to mention the other improvements that we are doing to the building too. But if it hasn't expired, I don't think it should be, if this is still an ongoing program, it shouldn't be held against us that we didn't apply for it 5 years ago. It's an ongoing program, like other people are applying for it now as well. And they may have owned their homes or buildings longer than we've owned this.
Go ahead, Carla.
Now, you said you had previously applied for this, but didn't it expire? Doesn't it expire after?
Not on the buildings. We had not on the buildings.
I can add some clarity. You have an application from 21 or 22 for 414 Main, which is
Okay.
the current randoms, and didn't proceed with that one.
Yeah, we didn't do it. We just ended up handling the exterior of the building ourselves.
And this is for Mike, for clarification. They, once approved, they don't expire, right? Or do they? I'm just going with her reasoning. She waited till she got approved for the loan. If it were me, I would have applied for this first and then gotten the loan.
Well,
2 years.
we didn't know for sure how long the loan would take or what was gonna happen.
Understood.
Yeah.
I've got some questions, but they're not related to the applicant. So I don't know if anybody else has questions for the applicant specifically. Oh, okay.
And who did the roof work?
Well, we are the subcontractor. We have a business license in the city of Belton, and we hired a reputable roofing company that we've used on other projects in the past.
And who is that roofing company?
Omar's Roofing.
And you said you are the subcontractor on the project?
Yes, I am.
Okay, you personally?
Yes, I am.
All right. And did you also prepare the estimate for the abatement?
Yes.
And how did you determine the estimate for the abatement?
I worked with Omar, the roofer, on it.
You have other items listed on the abatement as well.
Windows, things like that. I worked with the glass company that is providing us with the windows. We are buying from him, and that's how we worked on it.
And I believe that you sent an email to the city manager, correct, stating and asking about the emergency, is that right?
Well, not exactly about an emergency. He responded to mine. He just wanted me to keep him up to date on our timeline, and he said in emergency situations, we have allowed qualifying work to be done before approval.
And didn't he also say that he's not able to make that decision, but he would recommend the project be accepted?
He didn't say it like that. He said, and given the abhorrent status of the roof in your building, I would feel comfortable recommending the same treatment with this application. I wouldn't want this application process holding up, bringing the property up to code. And I can tell you what Matt Wright said too, if you'd like to know. As Joe mentioned, we've provided favorable recommendations to the board and council when the applicant submitted the paperwork prior to the start of work. But work may have started or been completed during the review and approval process due to emergency situations and for safety concerns. You've received the proper permits and have been in contact with the staff regarding the details and timing of the repairs.
But he's not on the 353 commission, correct?
No, but he's who you get your permits through. And he was answering the emails for him because he was out of town.
All right, but he's not Mr. Yuki.
Nope, but
And he's only involved with the permit process, correct?
I would assume.
Okay. Anyone else? Carla?
I'm just trying to figure out if it's considered an emergency. I've said in a lot of these meetings, I don't remember this coming up before as an emergency work. Do you have examples of this happening in the past?
There have been a few instances in the past few years where there was emergency work done on, I believe there was a residential property that needed some work done on the foundation, or because the walls were in danger of crumbling, and so that afterwards the OTBRC knew what was going on during the process and recommended anyway, and the council went ahead and approved that
Because
one.
my fear is if this would approve and go through, anybody who had submitted an application previously could say, wait, they get to do it, and then they're going to come back on us. So that's my point.
Understood, and that's why I said we would recommend, there was an issue in this specific property with a huge rainstorm just a week or two prior to receiving these emails, and I know that the business owner, or the business owners themselves had to shut down and and take emergency, and I was just more trying to look out for their interests and trying to help move
I feel
this
sorry
process
for the
along.
businesses that were in there because of the leakage, but to me, an emergency is something that happens now, not with a roof that has leaked for a while. To me,
It hadn't,
that's not an emergency.
it leaked that day, but it hadn't leaked in probably 6-8 months because it had been repaired. It was like that day that we got like 6 inches of rain in like an hour.
Brett was first.
There are some issues that we are going to be discussing at the 353 meeting, and that is figuring out whether we want, how we're going to deal with emergencies, what defines emergencies. And so this topic is going to be continuously being discussed. We are cognizant that the rules say this, that you can't start the work, but there might be some circumstances that we will define in the future what might be considered an emergency. But my thinking at this moment in time is that there was emails that was submitted and responded to that would imply that the board might approve. And so that implication then, in my mind, from the city, would have influenced someone's decision to go forward with the work.
Correct.
And so that's where my mind is at the moment, and I'm listening to all of you others' opinions, and so I'm sharing it, and whatever that might be, might be.
Is your question for the applicant?
No?
Okay.
Just for Mike.
Well, I was just going to close the hearing
Okay.
and let her sit
All right.
down unless anyone else has anything for the applicant. Okay. Would anyone else like to speak on this matter? I'm going to close the public hearing, and we can continue with the discussion. Go ahead.
Okay, I know that city manager mentioned a foundation problem. And was that, once they had to stabilize the foundation, was that counted towards their 353, or was that done?
There was, so the original shoring work was not, but the rest of the foundation, because there was pretty significant concrete work that needed to be done as well, that was included.
But the emergency portion of it was not counted towards the
Right,
353.
we don't, and I think it's been stated, we don't have an emergency provision or process within the OTB board policy, and so there's not a guide for us to follow as to what is an emergency, what do we deem an emergency, even just the definition, and so that's kind of what Councilmember White was alluding to, that the conversation's gonna be ongoing about how that fits into the overall policy.
I know that, and I don't remember the time frame, but it was either when I was considering running or I had just been elected, there was a business owner who had a roof problem on Main Street, and they actually lived in it, and they had to wait until they got approved before they could start the roof work.
Yep, that's correct.
Go ahead.
I guess I just want to kind of flesh out a little bit more the Chapter 353 process and maybe this particular application I have some questions with. So first, Mike, if you would explain, once an application is in, it has to be noticed. Can you kind of walk through the timeline of, you get an application, you get the application fee, it sets in motion what?
Right, so as part of the application, there is a checklist of items that are required, and I can turn to my, so we need the completed application, proof of property ownership, itemized cost of improvements, current photos, real estate tax statement, and a current business license if it's a commercial property, as well as payment of the application fee. Once all of that is completed, typically there's about a week where I have to put together the tax impact analysis that then goes to the board for its first review and approval. Once the board gives its approval, based on the number of members that are there and on the presentation, that's when that notification process starts. I have to send certified letters to all of the taxing jurisdictions that touch the downtown 353 area. And so there's about 9 of them in all that receive those letters. Per state statute, we have a 10-day window. So from the day that those are sent to the final 10th day, that then is when we can schedule that public hearing, and the next available date was this date for this application on that public hearing.
Okay, that kind of clears up the timeline. If the application and fee were in on 7/23, July 23rd, the 10-day notice would have been into 8/3, right? Allowing you time to do all the administrative work that goes into approving an application like this. I could look back through my calendar to see if we had to cancel a meeting in early August, but When it came, and this is again just context setting for everybody that isn't on the Old Town Belton Board, when it came to us on August 20th, we discussed a lot of kind of the questions we have right now. Is it an emergency? It sounds like, the applicant is very interested in starting the work right away. The spirit of this program is we want to remediate blight and preserve the housing and historic buildings in the Old Town area. It's worth acknowledging that the tenant in the particular building was, suffering with the water feature, as they say, in the building. And that also happens to be the mayor's daughter. So there's just so many layers to this that make it pretty uncomfortable, I would say. What happened with the Old Town Belton Board meeting on the 20th is that Councilmember White, myself, and Diane Huckshorn from the Chamber of Commerce were present as voting members of the board. Our board president couldn't make it, and our city manager, who was also on the board, couldn't make it. The following day, on August 21st, I was made aware of posts from, let me back up, 408 Main Street, the hair salon, was presented to us as emergency work that needed to be done. I asked during the meeting, the next building over, 410-12 Main Street, has that work begun? Is it an emergency? And through whatever communication Mr. Icky had, he was like, I got the impression that no, 410 and 12 would wait, that 408 was the emergency. And so again, this is all stuff we chewed over as a board and thought, gosh, we don't have a great process here, but we're gonna just really consider it and look at ways to improve it. The following day, I was made aware that roof repair work was being done on both buildings, and shortly after, like that Friday or Saturday, the roof work was done. And that caused me and Councilmember White to have some pause about this project and the recommendation from the Old Town Belton Board to approve it unanimously. So we asked Mr. Icky again to convene the board so that we could have all members present and discuss it. Again, City Manager Warren couldn't attend that meeting, but we did add the board, Old Town Belton Board President, Mr. Yonkers. And again, all of these same issues came up of who's involved. It's a city council member and their spouse. The city council member is not permitted to interact with city staff any longer because there was the impression that he was directing staffers and putting them in uncomfortable positions. So then his wife had to step in and interact. And now, again, after that second meeting, I've been made aware of more emails between city staff and the applicant, where staff is giving the impression the applicant can go ahead. The applicant is asking that it be on the next council meeting and it gets a double read, which you can ask, but that's up to this council if we agree to double read. And I have issues with the council member or their spouse, in my mind, an extension of them, asking for preferential treatment. And again, it's been made aware that the tenants are the ones that suffer, one being the mayor's stepdaughter. I have so much discomfort with the appearance of preferential treatment on these applications, and I just want to lay out everything that's been involved on the board side, all the tricky and uncomfortable pieces of this that we need to firm up. And yeah, we have the emails between the city manager in the packet, but we don't have the emails between Mr. Wright with community development in the packet. So, sorry, context. That's a lot.
James?
Go ahead.
Thoroughly agree with 100% Councilwoman Lawson said. Again, my position is that we need to do, on the 353, we need to tackle these issues and we need to make clearer what we will and won't. And when emails from city imply but not say, someone could interpret that as a go when it may not have been a go. And so that's where I'm leaning. It's not that we don't need to clarify this stuff because we need to. We need to make firm positions. But because of the emails, I'm leaning in a certain direction.
I would just say there is only one go on these, and that is this council, right? The city manager Warren said, I would be comfortable recommending to the board they proceed because of the status of the roof. That's not a go. It does cause some confusion, and it is not how I would recommend any member of the Old Town Belton Board interact with someone. But it's not go until we say go, and it's not a double read unless we say it's a double read. And the players involved in this situation make a lot of us uncomfortable because there is more context involved. And I think we're all struggling with that.
I would just like to note for the city council, when it comes to the Chapter 3 or the Old Town Belton redevelopment plan policy, I discussed this briefly with Councilmember Lawson, that all good economic development policies, because of the nature of economic development, with every project being different, policies are truly just policies. They cannot act as hard and fast rules, again, just because of the differences between each and every project. And I would note that at the last sentence of page 1 of the policy specifically states that it describes the plan policy, does all of that, then goes on to say, accordingly, no tax abatement shall be granted unless at a minimum, so this is the floor, the proposed redevelopment project reflects a significant improvement as determined by the city. So while we have our plan policy, while we state what our investment thresholds are, and while we try and stick with those as much as we can, ultimately the policy is a policy, it is not the law. And there is leeway not only for staff, but also for council members or the council to approve a project that might not meet each and every one of our policy guidelines, but ultimately is a good, successful project that will ultimately benefit the city.
But don't we create a situation where if we grant this and apply this as an emergency situation, and I think it's been discussed before, and especially when we're dealing with a city council person and a relation of the mayor, and we grant this one, but someone turns around in a similar situation with exactly the same parameters where it's a benefit to the Old Town Belton and the businesses there, but we deny it because it wasn't an emergency or it didn't meet the parameters, don't we set ourselves up for a significant amount of criticism and the appearance of impropriety?
I think, again, just like Councilmember Lawson laid out, due to a lot of the players in here, there was basically never a chance for the city to not have an appearance of impropriety in this sort of situation, which, again, there are differences between legal conflicts and apparent conflicts. I will advise you at all times to always avoid both, but unfortunately, sometimes we can't avoid all of them at all times.
Good.
Yeah, there were some comments made about, the appearance of impropriety because of the mayor's relationship, and that's, I would like to point out, there have been a number of applications, and Councilmember Lawson can back me up on this because she's on the OTBRC as well, that have not met the letter of the guidelines, whether it be, certain percentages of the exterior work, which are written in the plan guidelines, and there's been a lot of leeway given on those, and most of the time it's tried to follow the spirit of what's being done with the OTBRC and what's being done with the 353 program. It's designed to try and help bring these properties new life and kind of redevelop the downtown. And so there have been very many of these applications that have had some little bit of there's a percentage off here, and in every single one of those, and I feel comfortable saying this because every single one of those I've tried to give the applicant the benefit of the doubt, regardless of who the applicant was, who they were related to. And so as one of the 5 votes on the OTBRC, and understanding I don't have any more authority other than that, I've always said, yes, let's try to give them the benefit of the doubt. And so this idea that because the mayor has some relationship with one of the tenants of that there was preferential treatment given here, I think that's a little bit of a stretch.
I'll just clarify, I wasn't insinuating that it would be preferential treatment to approve it. I just wouldn't feel comfortable pointing out that Councilmember Richardson and his wife are the applicant and that we're relying on the tenant as like an impetus to approve this because they're the ones suffering. It wouldn't be fair not to just mention the relationship to the mayor. Sorry if that was interpreted as a dig.
That's fair, but there was more than just the bringing that up and the idea that the implication there was a little bit deeper than that, it felt like.
I just would feel bad if I didn't identify any possible conflict. Not that I was inferring that was one, but thank you for bringing that back up so I could clarify.
Go ahead, Brett.
I'm old, I just forgot what I was going to say. So I agree that all of the conditions need to be mentioned, whether it's significant or just part of the overall informational, it needs to be discussed. And so I think bringing that up is perfectly appropriate. again, I'm leaning towards, well, I'll be quiet. Go ahead, Ron.
I guess I'm going to go with Councilwoman Lawson here a little bit. We've certainly heard the word transparency a lot here lately. And for me to make an exception for a sitting council member on some of this, I just can't do. I don't think that sets a good precedent for us as a council. And I think that there are standards that we have to hold ourselves to. And I'm very sorry your roofs are leaking, because I know that they cost a fortune. I'm very sorry about it. But I, as a sitting council person, think that we have a standard that we have to hold ourselves to.
I have a question for Mike before we, just for clarity for me. I know a majority has to be outside, but isn't the spirit of this for beautification where no one's going to see a roof?
Well, beautification as well as improvement, remediation of blight, and the board really discussed a lot of where this project, and I didn't get to go into my usual staff report, but just to clarify, for 408 Main, this project is just the roof. And so
Right.
there was no other projects attached to this application at this address, and so it's just the roof. And I
Right.
think that's where the board settled, was because it is, and we've had this with other applicants as well, there are structural and blight, removal of blight projects that may not necessarily fall into that beautification category, but you can't have a good house if you don't have a foundation or you don't have a roof. And so these are things that, don't have curb appeal, but they certainly go a long way at making sure that you still have a stable structure within the district.
And one follow-on one, sorry, everyone. Regardless of when they pay their roofer, the work was still done before approval,
Correct.
and so by standards, it would be denied.
Through the
Unless
costs,
we
yep.
come up with something different right now
So-
that we're still talking about.
Thank you, perfect segue. So
Okay.
what on this project can be certified based on that?
That would be the challenge on the cost certification process for 408. I would lean on legal counsel if there is an opportunity for council to direct staff to include a portion or all of this project, if approved, as part of that cost certification process.
So just real quick, I want to be clear, because I'll just use the previous project that we just approved as an example. That we approved, and it was very clear that not all of it's going to be approved, because it's not all of it's going to be certified. So I can approve this, I can vote to approve this, and not all of it's going to be approved, because it can't all be certified. I mean, the majority of this is a one
Sounds like none
thing.
of
Yeah, exactly. It sounds like the answer is none of it will be certified. So even if I approve this, there might not be any abatement.
Correct. And then additionally, just for council members' peace of mind, and also, again, I spoke with Councilmember Lawson about this before, but when it comes to economic development projects, a lot of these Old Town, Belton redevelopment projects don't necessarily trigger this, but there is always some amount of cost that is incurred and reimbursed that occurs prior to approval. That is typically your soft cost, your engineering costs, your legal costs, things like that. So in any incentive project that is approved, there is some sort of pre-approval work that is being reimbursed. For example, if you are dealing with the structural integrity of a building, to even get what costs you are going to incur in making sure that is, structurally sound, you're going to need to have an engineer come out and perform an engineering study. If you look at all of the TIF plans that the city has ever approved, there's always an engineering and legal soft cost, all of which occurred prior to approval by the city council. So that should just be noted for the council, that there is never, it is difficult a lot of the times for all work to occur after approval, because you have to have some work occur beforehand to even know what work you need to do.
I want to add, look, so I'm at a very big Y here on, Y in the road, crossroads. On one side, I am opposed to exceptions being made for council members or in any situation, myself included. I think that's the burden we have of sitting in this seat, is we are going to be under extra scrutiny. However, the city staff based on my understanding, or not my understanding, based on like a reasonable reading of the emails specifically, and I'm not even referring to Mr. City Manager here, the city staff emails give way and above the perception that go ahead, you're good to go. So I would hate, whether this was a sitting council member or not, to have someone be penalized because of that, right? So you get told to go ahead with the green light, and then it turns out, oh, it wasn't the green light. So I have a problem with both those things. I mean, two wrongs definitely don't make a right. And so that coupled with the fact that the certification process there may not be a whole lot of certification on this, maybe other than potentially some of the pre-work as our lawyer just described, then, I guess I'm kind of leaning towards approval here from that simple purpose.
Allison Saturday.
To throw a third thing for you to weigh is that, assuming this is approved, then it will become staff's responsibility to suss out and certify costs of a city council member's project that was subject to all this scrutiny and discussion. I mean, I'm not advocating anyone vote any certain way, but this does sort of put the ball on staff to navigate, and that will also be very tricky and uncomfortable.
I hear what you're saying, and that is unfortunate, like very unfortunate, and I am opposed to that situation as well. That's a very good point, extremely good point. However, I will say that I would expect city staff to operate whatever our rules are, no matter who it is, period. Whether it is a sitting council member or whether it's some other resident or a business owner or whatever, I would want those rules to be consistently applied, and it should be as simple as that, I would hope. So that's, I agree with what you're saying, though.
Can I?
Go ahead, Brett.
So in this particular, because for the last however long it's been, I've been feeling like I'm jumping between two, I can't even think of the word I want to use, between 810 and 808, or 410 and 408. So we're actually only looking at the one. And that's just the roof only.
Yes, this one is
And
just for 408.
when you're costing, you're looking at, when you're looking at the cost, you're looking specifically at what was submitted for completing the roof, correct?
Just on 408, correct.
Just on 408. So if they can present a receipt, for lack of a better term, for the total cost, then it's going to be the total cost, because that's what the output was to complete that roof. There's no kind of thing. Is that correct? So you're not looking at other little things. You're looking at only the roof, and if it costs $35,000 to do the roof, you're going to certify $35,000.
We only certify what is submitted and verifiable. And
That's
so-
what I mean.
right,
If they
yeah.
submit a receipt for $35,000 that's from the company that did the roof, shows the hours, all that kind of stuff, then you're certifying $35,000.
Correct.
Okay.
Go ahead, Joe.
I think it's worth bringing up that this is the board, that this council is who gets to decide what those guidelines are. So if this council wants to change the guidelines, I'm not saying you should change them on the fly, but I'm just saying that the council is who gets to decide what the guidelines are for the 353 program. It just has to be blighted, is my understanding. And if there's, it's in a blighted area that we've already designated as part of the 353 as part of this program. So the council gets to pick what the guidelines are, if there are exceptions, what those guardrails could and should be. And it sounds like there's a very lengthy rewrite of the OTBRC guidelines probably due for us to bring to council in the future to try to avoid these situations. But you guys are the folks that get to make these decisions. And ultimately, I would ask that if there is anything with this that you want us to do as staff, you direct us to do this as a council.
Just on, I think that's a really good point, and just on that, I will defer to Councilmember White and Councilmember Lawson to look at that through the board and bring that to us at that point. I mean, I'm not opposed to the current rules, right? I understand we're trying to say they should be buttoned up specifically around emergencies, et cetera, but like, you know, I don't think, I know I say this a lot, but consistency, right? And application of consistency to everyone is, I think, the most important piece.
And I guess I would just advise that the city staff don't give feelings out whether they think things are going to be approved in the future. Go ahead, Joe.
Well, that's where, again, I would appreciate it. Consistency is great, a great term to utilize. This is not the first one that has had any variation from the guidelines.
Mm-hmm.
It's far from the first one. And
Sure.
so that's, again, if there's going to be consistent variation, then there's no longer consistency.
Right.
And so the only reason that email was sent, I know I sent that one email, and that was for me, and I remember going through the process when the conversation was started that, okay, we've given exceptions on multiple occasions for different things to try, and again, trying to stick with the guidelines or with the general thought of let's redevelop our downtown, let's give the application as much benefit out as we possibly can. And who's going to speak out for the tenants, regardless of who they are? They're business owners on our downtown. And so that's why, again, I mean, as you guys are considering this application, if there's a specific way you want us to act as staff, because those guidelines have been very inconsistently applied, I'd like for that to come from council directly.
Just a clarification, I wasn't implying that anyone either on the board or in this council is giving preferential treatment to anybody. I'm talking about the perception of our citizens when we make decisions that involve people who may or may not, be related to someone on the council or are on the council themselves. I think we owe it to the citizens to be as clear as possible about what's going on and that no one gets preferential treatment regardless of who they are, and I'm not saying anybody is. I'm just saying it can look bad, and we need to take that into consideration. I'm not saying anybody did anything untoward or that anybody's asking for anything untoward, just that we have to take that into consideration. And just for clarification question too, because I'm still confused. If we approve this and everything has been done prior to the approval, it basically isn't allowed, if that's what the council directs staff to do as far as, because it kind of sounds like that's what is being asked of us.
So essentially, the way that I believe staff would interpret it is based on the discussion tonight, based on this entire discussion about the sort of emergency exception to the plan policy. If the city council were to adopt this ordinance amending the redevelopment plan, staff would interpret that as at minimum, implicit addition to the policy that emergency work, we would use the plain language term, a serious, uninspected, and often dangerous situation requiring immediate action, and that would now become part where it was no work can be performed unless it is emergency work. I would also note again, for example, scooters received Chapter 353 abatement. I'm not certain what each and every cost that they put in for reimbursement, but I'm sure if any of it had to do with engineering or any soft costs, there were pre-approval costs certified in that application as well.
Got,
Go ahead.
if my memory serves me, it came under that, the presentation for this particular one was that the work, when you presented it, was already done. And the 353 approved it at that time because of the emergency services for this particular property.
So this one was not completed, I believe. This one was underway, under construction.
That's right, because it
Yes.
was certified several days.
Correct.
It
Yeah,
was
inspected several
approved,
days after.
inspected several
Correct.
days afterwards. That's
And-
correct.
And
Yeah, sorry.
both 408 and 410 were inspected, final inspected at the same time.
So I don't know if I'm asking for an amendment to the entire policy, which may be, I don't know. Because the only reason I'm considering voting yes is because of the emails that implied I'm on and it's in my
Microphone.
mouth.
Oh.
So the,
So the only, shaking his
Yeah.
mic at me.
Keep going.
So-
I have a follow-up to your question.
The
Keep going.
only reason I'm considering yes is because of the emails that would seem to imply that it was okay to go ahead and get started, which they did, and we approved it prior to the final inspection. So I don't know if I'm wanting, because I think the board needs to discuss whether we want to imply that.
So again, this would just be a in the meantime interpretation.
Okay.
Until the city council is able to either fully adopt it or fully not adopt it.
Okay.
Into the plan policy.
Carla, did you have something?
I still go back to the application. I mean, it says in here, it must be approved by the city council for the, and he's been on, this is his second term, so he should know how this works and the time frame the approval's needed. I just feel like this is not good to set a precedence to do this.
Well, we haven't made a motion, correct, to amend anything. So,
Right.
so approval of this doesn't change how we operate.
These projects are considered amendments to the Old Town Belton redevelopment plan.
Now I understand what you were saying.
Every new project is brought in as an amendment to the Old Town Belton redevelopment plan.
Okay.
Now, the redevelopment plan and the redevelopment policy are two separate documents, but they were adopted via the same ordinance. So the interpretation would be that this is an ordinance at least tacitly or implicitly amending the no work except for if it's an emergency. And I would also note that I just remembered this as I was looking through it, but there were, at the beginning, at least a not insignificant amount of projects that were approved as quote pilot projects that had done some work prior to approval.
Comment on that specifically. So I was the first person to apply, and Donald and I were the first people to be approved. And 2 weeks before we had a chance to fill out the application, we couldn't use the upstairs of our house. There was no heat and air in it. And I asked specifically if we could include that in our application, and we were told without a blink that we could not do it, even though not being able to use the upper story of your house should be considered an emergency. And we were told no. And we had the proof, we had we had spent it, we had the paperwork, we had everything, and they said no. So, first one out of the gate.
I'm struggling, speaking of consistency, I go back, so maybe I inaccurately approved the prior 353. My understanding was that that had to be certified, that work had to be certified. And now we're saying, so if I go back to my understanding is this work needs to be certified, and if we say, if our city staff looks at it and says, well, none of it's certified because it was all pre-done or whatever, then I guess you see my problem here?
Yeah, so when you guys do something, we have to interpret it as you did something. So if you guys approved this, again, given all of this discussion that's happened here, we would have to interpret the ordinance to have done something. So if you adopt it and we just say that no, none of these costs can be certified, even though you guys all approved it, after all of this discussion that the work was done beforehand, we would have to interpret that as it was intentional and you did provide that this project was still under the policy, because the only thing that has to be approved is that it is a redevelopment project that reflects a significant improvement as determined by the city. It would just be, city staff would interpret it as you guys approved it as a significant improvement to the city, those costs would be certifiable.
You still have to do a double reading on the previous one, correct? I mean, we still have to do another reading on that one.
Yes.
It's not fully approved yet.
Yes.
So we can change our minds.
Yep.
And I would also just add that that was not an emergency application. They're not telling us that they needed to do this work because it was an emergency.
That is correct.
And so I think our questioning went to that, but we can develop that further at the next session.
Wasn't the application made with the understanding, we're talking about the one with the beauty shop, that it wasn't an emergency situation?
That I don't know. When the application was made, if it was an emergency?
No, when it came to the board.
Correct, yes.
Okay.
Anyone else?
This may feel like I'm just trying to delay the vote further, but there are three things I think could be improved upon. The first one, which we've talked about as a board, is that we need to clearly define work starting, emergency work, interior versus exterior percentages. That's 50-50. Are we holding to that? That's work for the board to do. For staff, I would again say any communication with applicants needs to defer to the process that it's going to go in front of the board and then it's going in front of the council twice. And that's the final say on this, not what a staff email would say. And then the third thing I would ask is that anyone on the council that has property in the Old Town Belton district, please be very careful and intentional in pursuing the benefit of this program, because we are under a microscope. And if you hold a microscope up to this, taking off my city council member hat, I have a lot of questions that make me uncomfortable. So hopefully we won't have another application that is this complex.
I have a legal question. It sounds like this is an all or nothing. Can we postpone this until emergency is clarified and then bring it back?
You could, but honestly, at this point, it's, again, the only thing that you guys are currently discussing is the first reading. So just as Councilmember Johnson said, you could, the other one has another reading for the next week.
Yeah.
You guys could adopt the first reading. Staff could prepare at least temporary amendment to the plan policy defining what is emergency work, get that in front of the OTBRC board and attempt to have that on the agenda for the next meeting.
Anyone else have anything? Can I ask for a show of hands during the voice vote? Because I think we're going to have.
You could ask for a roll call.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to recommend a roll call for this one. For the first reading, granted. So if no one else has anything to discuss, we will go with a roll call for. Go ahead, Brett.
I just want to clarify what my vote, because I can't say it during my vote,
Right?
so I will be voting because of the emails.
Okay.
Yeah, if I guess I want to make that clear as well. I can't imagine a world in which an applicant receives correspondence that says, go ahead, green light, and they're then penalized. And I also have a problem with how the applicant came about, but that's, two wrongs don't make a right. Okay, anyways, I'm ready.
Understood. All right. Nothing further.
Councilmember White,
Aye.
McCallum,
Aye.
Lawson,
No.
Davidson,
No.
Johnson,
No.
Thompson,
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Pryan.
No.
That motion fails.
Motion failed. Number 3, motion approving first reading of bill number 2025-50.
An ordinance approving the 27th Amendment to the Old Town Belton redevelopment plan to approve the 410 Main Street project as redevelopment project 2025-4 and to authorize tax abatements as described therein.
Present.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. At this time, I will open the public hearing regarding the proposed 27th Amendment to the Old Town Belton redevelopment plan for redevelopment project 2025-04 pursuant to RSMO section 353.110.3 subparagraph 2. Is there anyone that would like to speak for or against this project?
Same stuff. So, we already did the roof. Everybody knows, but we haven't done anything else.
Understood? Anybody else? I will close the public hearing. Doesn't he get to speak first?
Yes.
Go ahead, Mike.
So before the Mayor Pro Tem and the council is an application. Applicant owner of 410 Main Street is requesting project approval for $60,000 in improvements focused entirely on exterior improvements. Estimated property taxes with these improvements could increase from the current $3,485 annually to, nope, that's back down to $4,233 annually over the 10-year abatement. Staff does recommend approval, and the Old Town Belton Redevelopment Corporation recommended unanimous approval at its board meeting on August 20th. Happy to answer any questions.
Go ahead.
Specific to this application, we discussed as an Old Town Belton board, any application that comes to us with outstanding code violations. Can you update on the status of the outstanding code violations for this property?
This property, I do not believe has any current outstanding code violations, at least the last time that I checked.
Okay,
There's
so
a-
since our August 20th meeting, those have been addressed?
Correct. There's still, and I want to make sure I have my properties correct, there's still an electrical issue that I know the property owner is working with Evergy on. And that's outside of our purview necessarily.
Thanks.
Go ahead, Brett.
I thought that what the applicant was going to do was going to complete and finish any code violation, but that there was.
Talk into the mic.
So I thought that the applicant's application was going to fix any of the code violations on this one, that there was still some outstanding with the trash in the back and something with the deck.
There is a deck on the rear that will need to be improved before a new tenant can begin, essentially before they can open business.
Occupy.
Yeah, and occupy.
So this will take care of that.
Hopefully, yes.
Okay. So, his story, when the committee met on the 20th, we were informed that the roof had not been started yet. And so then right after that meeting, we found out that the roof had been started, and it had been approved then 23rd or something like that through the whoever. And then, go ahead.
Do you mean the work had been inspected?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. And so then we requested that we meet again because of the initial information that we were told that we voted on was inaccurate. And so we met again the week later and reviewed this and informed that the roof had been completed but inspected after we met on the 20th. And so then we started struggling with this, even though we had also struggled with the other one. And so I thought it was important to everyone to understand that initially when we discussed this one, the roof, the anticipation was that it had not been completed yet, or not even been started, but it had been. But then I go back to the emails that they received that would imply, and so that muddied up even more because they specifically talked about the emergency in the other one, but it didn't appear like that was quite an emergency in this one because literally how we were told about that. So I will be quiet for the moment, but I will reserve the right to interrupt.
Or raise your hand. Anyone else? Go ahead.
Just for clarification, okay, so this one was not the same situation as the hair salon, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so if we approved this one, the work that was done prior to approval could be redacted or reduced from the abatement. Is that correct?
Based on the current policy, correct.
Go ahead.
Gosh, I hate that. Yeah, it makes it very muddy. It's exactly the right word. I really dislike that. But that being said, looking at this is a completely separate application. So how much of that would we guess can be, certified?
So based on the amounts that were included in the application, the roof was estimated at $40,000. There was a portion of the window project replacement at $10,000. There was a scrape and repainting the rear of the property at $5,000. And then there's the deck project we talked about previously at the rear of the property, also $5,000. So in total, there's about $20,000 that could be included in the abatement for this property.
And what's the max?
So there's no max that could be applied for, but based on kind of just back of the napkin of, they're going to get 10 years, there's about $1,000 reduction on the property tax. So you will max out at your, about 10,000 worth of savings in the 10 years.
Okay.
And none of the other work, the windows, the paint, scraping and painting the rear, and the deck and the ramp, those have not been done, to your knowledge?
Correct.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, I forgot to write it down. The roof was 30?
40. on this
40.
one.
Any other comments or questions? Yes.
I'm sorry. Okay, is this going to create the same controversy that we talked about before about for staff to not certify previously done work? Is this a different enough situation that staff is comfortable working with this?
Yeah, there are certifiable costs on work that has not begun yet, and as long as, again, certified, verifiable costs, staff feels, at least I feel comfortable being able to go through that process.
Go ahead, Brett.
So you feel, let me just make sure my little mind here. You feel comfortable if this is approved, not including the roof? Is that what I just heard?
I would say that I would advise my staff to do, to take note of the previous vote and how that went to handle this application if it is approved, because you made a clear delineation with what was approvable and what was not based on when the work was done. You've given us clear delineation here, I feel like. So, I think we can make that. You've given us what we needed by the way you voted with the last motion, if that makes sense.
Yes.
I mean, I get it. I understand what you're saying. There's a delineation there. I get it. I still dislike it, but I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
I guess I don't.
I'll give my, well, actually, Patrick, go ahead.
Essentially, city staff, given that the city council voted no on a emergency work only project, is now comfortable understanding that emergency work is not something that can be included in certifiable costs.
Got it. One more time, last time. I go back to the emails because it wasn't on this property and then on this property. They were roof, and the implication was all of it. And I go back to that information was implied that it could all. So that's how I'm considering it at the moment.
Understood. Anyone else?
I just want to comment, if that's the way you understand it, then that changes the way I have to look at it, because I thought we had made it clear to staff what we were doing. And you're going back to the emails.
But I was outvoted.
I understand, but now okay, I'm using the phrase I used to Alex. We're muddying the water for staff because we're implying that because those emails were sent, that creates the same situation, and we should have allowed that money for the roof to be included in the abatement.
That's what Councilmember White believes, but per our city attorney, that is not how that will be interpreted.
I don't think that, again, Councilmember White is Councilmember White. 5 of you is the city council, is the city. So city staff, again, does not take direction or proceed with things based on a council member's belief. So we would have to interpret the majority voting no on that last one as that is the city council's decision.
Okay, just for clarification, Mr. Warren, you are still comfortable in moving forward based upon the previous vote?
Yeah, I feel like you guys have made it clear.
Still like to vote the same way on this one, if there's any more questions. All right.
Okay.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Pryan,
Yes.
Councilmember Davidson,
No.
Thompson,
Yes.
White,
I'm confused. No.
Lawson,
Aye.
McCallum,
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
That
Motion passes. Any other motions on this? All right, we'll move on to number 4. Will someone go get Councilmember Richards? The best note you wrote in here. Motion approving the first reading of Bill number 2025-51.
An ordinance approving the 28th Amendment to the Old Town Belton redevelopment plan to approve the 401 East Walnut project as Development Project 2025-5 and to authorize tax abatements as described therein.
Present.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. I will now open a public hearing regarding the proposed 28th Amendment to Old Town Belton redevelopment plan for redevelopment project 2025-05 pursuant to RSMO Section 353.110.3 subsection 2. Would anyone like to speak in behalf or against this project? Seeing none, I will now close the public hearing. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, council members. The item in front of you is an application for 401 East Walnut. The resident or the owner is requesting approval of a project for $32,500 for improvements focused entirely on the exterior. Estimated property taxes with the improvements could increase the property from $785 annually to about $1,743 annually. If you look at, I just wanted to kind of point out, since this is a residence, primarily this is going to be a window replacement, new roof, new paint, and there's a fence that is around the rear of the yard, I believe. All of those are going to be those exterior projects to the home itself. Staff recommends approval, and the Old Town Belton Redevelopment Corporation recommended unanimous approval on the project at its August 20th, 2025 meeting. Happy to answer any questions about the project or the proposal.
Go ahead, Alex.
I mean, the obvious question at this point, I'm probably going to have to ask every single time now is, do we have any questions about certifying the work?
No, these will be pretty straightforward. These will require permits, and usually when we pair those permits up with invoices, it's pretty straightforward.
And to your knowledge, no work has been done.
That is correct, yes.
Just taking the same magnifying glass to every project going forward. I see the application came in on 8/13, and it was on our 8/20 Old Town Belton Board meeting. So when you say that 10 days to notice it and send the letters, that's how much you're allowed.
It's 10 days after the board's vote. So the board has to vote.
Thank you. So
then it's
that-
the 10-day window.
That would trigger before it comes to the council. I
Correct.
apologize. I was
Correct.
mixing those two up. Thank you very much.
And again, just for clarification, Chapter 353 requires that there be a public hearing where the affected taxing jurisdictions are given an opportunity to talk about the project, and that public hearing is in front of the city council. That is the 10-day period that Mike is talking about. He has to send out certified letters to all the taxing jurisdictions to provide them 10 days' notice of the public hearing that is occurring, or that already occurred tonight.
Go ahead, Wanda.
I drove by this house today. It's on a sweet little lot. That'll be a real improvement for that kind of that corner and everything. It'll be real nice when it's done.
Absolutely.
Any other discussion? Okay, I feel safe on this one. Voice vote. All those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes. Any other motions on this? Number 5, motion approving first reading of bill number 2025-52.
An ordinance annexing 11 acres to the northwest corner of East 171st Street and Holmes Road into the city of Belton, Missouri.
Present.
Second.
For those reading along, it says Matt, but I heard that Mike is filling in, so go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and council members. So the item you have before you this evening, city staff received a request for voluntary annexation from the property owner of 11 acres at the northwest corner of 58 and Holmes, which will be contiguous with the city limits following recording of the MoDOT right-of-way annexation previously approved by council. Prior to development of the property, a rezoning and development plan is required to be submitted for this approval. The annexation is being brought forward subject to RSMO 71.014, which allows a voluntary annexation in Cass County to be approved by ordinance without a public hearing. Staff recommends approval of the annexation request. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions or discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Too late.
I can hold it.
Okay, any opposed? Motion passes. Did you get an aye in?
I did.
Okay. Number 6, motion approving first reading of bill number 2025-53.
An ordinance approving the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission Surface Transportation Block Grant Program Agreement between the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission and the City of Belton, Missouri for the Markey Parkway connection.
Present.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. You're up, sir.
So before you this evening is our standard agreement with the Missouri Department of Transportation in order to receive funding. In 2024, we applied for funding to do the next section of Markey Parkway, which would go from North Scott to very close to Westover. I don't believe we're actually going to make it to Westover, but it'd be very, very close. These funds are scheduled to be, we originally applied for them to be in 28. It looks like now because of over-programming and underfunding, it gets pushed to 29. However, Mark has basically said that anybody who can turn in a project prior to it, so basically in 27, 28, or 29, they're going to basically approve them first come, first serve. And so this is a standard agreement that MoDOT has. I tried to make some minor changes to it, and they absolutely refuse to change a single word in the agreement. So after giving up on that, I have brought it to you for approval so we can sign the agreement.
Go ahead, Allison.
Okay, my question also ties back to the other one. Just in the council action report, I noticed under legal considerations, it says the law department has reviewed these agreements, whereas on the previous one, it says the city attorney has approved it. What's the difference?
So there are other people at my law firm besides just me. One of them specifically, Jackson Hour, is my associate, and sometimes he reviews documents, and then he is put in as the law department.
The law department, thank you.
That was a very good question. Thank you. Any other questions or discussion?
So, given the fact that we couldn't change anything, was there any, obviously, we're moving forward either way, or, maybe we are, maybe we aren't, we'll vote, but I guess, is there anything specifically that we should maybe be watchful of or concerned of on that front?
The only thing that's in there is the method of repayment. And so normally in the past, we try to achieve the quickest amount of dollars from the feds back to us in the project as early as we can. So in these projects, they were always 80-20 projects, but we never got a full 80% because we try to spread the money. The public works directors, when we meet across the Missouri side, the Missouri side of the state, we try to spread the money out so every city gets some money. Because in the end, we all need to bring some money home and do something good for our cities. So this project's gonna be funded about 72%. I mean, once the project bids, then we'll know the exact percentage. But normally we used to submit refunds back to them at 80%. When their money ran out, then we used all city money at that point. I know Casey enjoys it when I bring as much money back as quickly as I can to cover costs instead of using city money. In the new agreements, they're very specific that they're going to only refund the money at the percentage the project is funded at. So that way I can't ask for 80%. I can only ask for 72% as the project goes along. And so that restricts me from getting more of their money up front and us paying more money later, keeping our money in the bank longer. That's the change that I didn't like.
I don't like that either.
Yeah.
But they absolutely refuse to change.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? All right, this is a voice vote again. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Number 7, motion approving resolution number 2025-069.
A resolution approving a contract with Utility Service Group Incorporated for the Water Meter Infrastructure Replacement Implementation Project in the not-to-exceed amount of $8,250,672.40.
Present.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. You're up.
So if you remember, in the past, we had a work session discussing about AMI, which is Advanced Metering Infrastructure. And I went through the whole dog and pony show to kind of explain how it all works. And we're going to do a little bit of that again tonight, just to refresh everybody's memory of how it works.
Sorry, I feel like I heard a sigh somewhere when you said that. That was the only reason.
It was me. It was
Well,
old. It's past my bedtime.
I do have a presentation tonight. I was given 100 slides. It takes about 3 hours to go through. I have shortened it
Okay.
for you. So, for your viewing pleasure, and for your positive votes, right? And so,
Thank you.
you are definitely welcome. So, why AMI? I think it's really important to discuss why we want to move to an AMI system. It really does make our bills more accurate and provides more information to our residents. It's a proactive system where we know when someone's got a leak and we know when there's a problem. We also know if somebody actually has a meter that's going backwards or someone who has a meter with absolutely no flow through it. And that's always cautionary if you have neighbors who are maybe senior citizens or just anybody's neighbor, you know that they're home and they're not using any water is something you can be alerted of a problem that's there. It provides timely information to reduce excessive water use. There is times when, and I have talked to residents, where they say, I got this huge bill, and I go by their house in the summertime, and they have 3 spigots in their house and 3 hoses, and they're wide open going. And they go, I don't understand why I got the water bill that I did. Well, this will allow you to monitor. So if you run a hose, you can see what it's doing. If you're running a sprinkler system, you can see day in and day out how much water that you're using. It empowers the customers to have control over water consumption. We had a former council person that noted they had several daughters and that they noticed that at certain times of the year, the water bill was much higher. And so trying to control consumption of water is something that you can actually do. And it also provides a good customer portal so you can check usage, you can check for leaks, you can actually analyze your data. You can see what's going on and how you use water so you can use your utility and use the resource better for what you're doing. So as you start looking at this, and this is not something that's been short in coming. This has taken a long time. And I want to try to explain it to make sure everyone understands. We first put out an RFP in 2023, actually about 2 years exactly to this month. We got the information, and the information's not small. So the book that we received from one of the companies is quite thick and has a lot of information. This is the submittal that we received from Utility Service Group. And so it took us a long time to go through and basically be able to start understanding how the system works, what we want, and what they provide, and how to make it work. Once we actually got through this and were able to digest exactly how this all works, this is far more complicated than I ever thought. We then had to negotiate a contract with them. Thanks to the help of Patrick, we spent months negotiating it because they have a specific business plan and a business way they operate their company. And it's not the way that our city or a lot of cities I've worked for operate. And so it took a lot of time negotiating with them to get the contract to be exactly the way we want it and something they want. And I mean, they're very specific, down to very specific words that were in every single sentence. And we went back and forth with Patrick and myself and them to get a contract that we all could live with. You know, we've been partners doing tanks here in town. They maintain our tanks and have been a good partner to us. But it's just having this contract as a long-term contract to do a lot of work. It's very specific. And you'll notice when you read the language, it's very specific how we go about doing it. And so as part of it, you know, we had finance come in and sit and they did a demonstration, a live demonstration with a city on the East Coast that uses the software, uses Central Square, so it's all doing the same thing, and they did a live demonstration of reading the meters, processing the data right in front of us, so we could see it live to see that, make sure this whole process does work just exactly like we said it did. And so we spent a lot of time doing this. Now, this contract provides us a lot of different parts and pieces, and so I'm just going to try to go over it very easily so we can understand it. So inside everybody's meter pit in front of their house, there is a water meter. We're also going to have a shutoff switch in there, and we're going to have an endpoint. And the endpoint, and I'm right here in my box, I'm gonna bring them out for you, is basically those two devices speak to this endpoint, which communicates, and you currently have one at every water meter in town. It's a 2-inch deal. Is this piece right here. This piece you can see on your meter lid in everybody's house. This transmits, right now, we have a pickup truck that goes around and it picks up the readings. This will go to what they call an MTU, which is a box that is gonna be on 7 towers throughout the city. It's gonna read it, and that information is gonna get sent to the company for them to process the data. And so they'll keep track of it. There'll be ones watching it, seeing if someone's got a leak at their house, seeing if there's no reading, being able to process the information for being able to do billing. So this is the device that is everybody's water meter right now. This is the part that we currently use, won't be used anymore. These are the part that's going to be in the meter pit in everybody's home. And so this piece up here is a standard water meter. It's actually a meter that has no moving parts. It actually visually watches the water and tracks your water meter or water usage without having to have moving parts. This will reduce the amount of times that you have something that goes down or breaks. And we don't have a lot of meters that break, but it does allow it to be a lot more dependable type of meter. This is a meter that almost everybody in the country has moved to. This other portion that you see here, this portion is a shut-off switch. It's a sealed unit. There's absolutely nothing that anybody can do to either turn the unit on or turn it off. It can only be done remotely. And so if someone were to turn, if you don't pay your bills and the city has to turn off your water will be turned off through this switch, and there's nothing you can do to turn the water back on. There's literally nothing here you can touch. The only thing you can do is actually remove this whole piece, and if you remove it, we'll instantly know that someone has tampered with our device.
Someone might take that as a challenge, just be careful.
I understand, because people already try to remove our devices, and so we're quite well aware of what it takes. But the difference is now is until our truck goes by, we don't know if someone's messed with it. But with this, in the constant communication, we will know if someone tries to mess with our device. I don't know if anybody wants to see this. I'd be happy to pass it.
You ought to pass those around. Yeah,
That's exciting times, right?
this is our first show and tell.
So on that endpoint, that transmitter, that portion that he is looking at right now, that is a piece that we will no longer use. That goes on our current meters. And so they'll have a new one that actually matches their equipment for use. But that gives you a basic idea of what this equipment looks like. Now, the MTU is a big box. I didn't bring it in. I didn't figure that was too exciting to look at. And I don't have one, so I would have just brought an empty box.
I should stop accidentally hitting this with my weed whacker.
That would be nice.
Okay.
And make sure you keep your mower up and don't mow it either. So there's lots of important things. So like I said, the customer in the portal, and I do have a few slides that I'm going to show. I actually got down to 4, okay?
All
So
right.
it's from 100 to 4. So one of the things is on our side, we're going to be able to start seeing total consumption. And this is going to be something that we can look at and be able to see how people are using water on a daily basis. Now, currently, I actually see water consumption because I see our towers, and I can see the height of the tower, see how much drawdown there is that when people are using high consumption times, because that affects us right now, because we monitor our water towers all the time for pumping to make sure we keep them pumped up so we don't run out of water. And so this is another way we can look at consumption and see how much people are using. And we can do it over days, months, hours, and be able to see year after year and do comparison on water usage. Here's some of the consumption events that people can see.
Sorry, would you prefer we wait till the end, or would you prefer we interject now?
Doesn't matter. If you want to ask
Well,
questions.
what do you prefer?
Save 'em for
I'll
the
do
end,
whatever.
please.
Okay, okay.
I'm on a roll. And so consumption events, these are some of the events that we can look at, utility service group can look at, is to see if someone has edited the data, if there's zero consumption, if the meter goes backwards, if there's an abnormal consumption, constant, which means that something's open and just running, and are continuous. So you can see high usage, and you begin to wonder what's going on. Or we can start looking at total consumption to see if there's something that's different on it. So there's a lot of these different things, and the panel allows them to start looking at it. I didn't do a lot of screenshots because every time I brought one up, it got so small you really couldn't read very, very much. But just like you see in your electric bill, I know an electric bill or gas bill, they give you month over month. Sometimes Evergy sends me a weekly consumption. Here's how much money, here's how much power you've used over the peak hours. You know, you use too much or whatever. It's the same sort of thing that we can start producing, and our customers can see. They can go look every day to see where's my consumption been over the month. You know, some people who use sprinklers, they like to know, how much did I spend on sprinklers? Can I run it a little bit more, or should I run it a little bit less, or should I maybe stop doing that altogether? You can start looking at what is going on, and you can start then controlling things and budgeting, knowing that, hey, I don't want to spend so much for water this month, but I still want to water a lot. Where am I going to end up? And then you can start looking at history. Like this kind of shows you month over month over previous years and gives you more information about what's going on. Now this is more toward electric bill, you'll notice, and it actually gives you the temperature so you can kind of do it. But this is for electric or water, it does the same thing. You can do your consumption over time and figure out where you're at and how much you've spent. And so you have an idea of what's going on. So I promise I wouldn't do too many. And so that's all the things that it provides. This is an excellent program. It's been long in coming. It's a well-negotiated contract. I feel very secure about what we're doing, the parts that we're buying, and how it'll be installed. This is going to be a full 15 months beginning to end for it to be installed. In 6 months, it's going to go live from whenever we start. And so that means in that first 6 months, they're going to go out and do a survey to find out where all the meters are at, what are all the sizes of the meters, verify everything, then make the orders. Those parts start coming in, and then they'll go out and start installing them. It's not a one-day install, it's a 9-month install. So we'll be running 2 systems during this time. So starting about 6 months in, we'll start adding meters to the new system and taking them off the old system until everything's to the new system. And so the next resolution is going to be about maintenance, but that maintenance contract starts at 6 months in when we start actually putting things onto the system. And so now the big thing about this, and Councilman McCollum always asks about, is this in the budget? This is currently not in the budget. And so there will be a budget amendment coming at our next meeting, and then I'm not going to sign this contract after you give us approval until that budget amendment passes. And so we will not act or take any action until the budget's there and in place and ready to go. Now, because it's going to take time to do the budget amendment and get it passed, the date set in the contract can have to be adjusted based upon when it's fully passed and when I can get it started. So I'll be happy to answer any questions you have.
Well,
I don't have to go first.
Brett's been waving his hand. Go ahead.
since you already made the statement that I was going to say, I will pass it to Councilman McCollum so that way he can't ask, was it in the budget? He can go on with his next question, because we have discussed this.
We've discussed it, but it never hurts to rediscuss.
That's correct.
And the public
Right.
doesn't always watch every meeting we have.
How does finance feel about this? Do we have the money for this wonderful project?
We do. And I can tell you where it's going to come from if you'd like to know that.
So that was going to be my question. Is that what you were, I saw Mr. City Manager had his hand up. Is that where you were going with that?
Yeah, I'll defer the specific numbers to the finance director, but yes, we this year in our budget, I believe we had $1 million set aside to potentially start this
That's what I
project. If we were
recall.
going to try to sequence it out What's being proposed tonight is to just, rather than sequence it out, just to go all in one fell swoop, essentially. And so, and utilizing existing fund balances in water, wastewater, and capital improvement is where we would find the money to go ahead and do this if we decided to do it a budget amendment and get this going now.
Did he just steal all your thunder?
No, because he doesn't know the exact numbers.
Okay. Please enlighten us.
So I've got 2 million coming out of capital improvement sales tax, 3 out of wastewater, and 2.25 out of the water fund.
All right. Go ahead, Brett.
So since we were looking at phasing, how does that change since we're doing it all up front? Just kind of, since we're not going to be phasing, what does that do?
Well, there are different ways to do this, and what we're proposing tonight is that we go ahead and start it now, contract everything out, they will come in, they'll bring in their own crews, they'll start switching out meters, because every single meter is gonna have to be switched out to this technology. And so that's what, it's a long lead time. And there are other ways to do this. If you wanted to do a section of the city at a time, that's allowable and possible, but we figured this was since we could find the money to do this was the quickest, easiest way to get everybody on the same system, updated system, all at once. And that's what we're recommending.
Were we looking at phasing $1 million a year? Is that kind of?
That was kind of the initial discussion, was we'll start with $1 million and then see,
What will we do with, since we're not going to be doing $1 million a year, what will we be doing with that $1 million next year, year after that, year after that?
Someone
Nothing.
shaking their hair. Okay.
It's instead of being, I mean, it's simple, right? Instead of phasing it out, we're just, because we do have the cash balance,
We'll no
doing it
longer.
now. So we wouldn't be taking it out of the cash balance in the
Right.
future.
Well, I like this for two reasons. It doesn't get any cheaper the longer you wait. And I think it's unfair that only certain population of the city would get this and have that access. Because if I understood you right, I can go in there every day and look at my bill. Every citizen can. Because my pain point is my grandchildren. They shower way too long. So I can show it to them. Hey, you're costing me this much money. And I could even bill my kids. I'm starting to really like this. All right, next serious.
Okay, so I'll keep that in mind for building my children. This is going to be a different read, for the lack of a better word. So are we going to do a public service announcement that, you may have a meter that was running backwards, or you may have, something, so there will be some different challenges presented because of this. And people need to realize that they're not looking at their meter in real time, correct?
No, you'll be slightly behind time. You're not going to be real time being able to say, okay, I'm going to turn my faucet on and see if
Yeah.
it goes up or down. Yeah, there is a delay in the time from the time the device actually gets it, and when it's not live. It shoots about, I think, every minute. It shoots a signal out. And so it does take time for it to go through the system and back where you can see it.
But there will be some issues with meter reads, correct?
There shouldn't be any issue with meters. One of the things that a lot of cities do is that, we're at the point where we're having a lot of meters come to end of life. That's what really brought this about, is we're running to the end of life of our system, and so we're going to need to start switching out meters. What a lot of cities do is that they allow their meters to go an excessively long time where the reads go down. And so instead of reading at 100%, they read at 90, then 80, then 70%. Then they put the new meters in, and guess what? The revenue went up to cover the cost of the program. But our meters are still, we test our meters. Our meters are still running somewhere between 95 to 97%.
Oh, okay. So there's not a big
So there
lag
shouldn't be
then.
but a 1 or 2% difference in what people are reading.
Because I knew you had talked about that before and said that they may have a different read or perception of it because of the meters being old, but you're saying that ours are still.
We have not seen where our meters have slowed down,
Okay.
significantly slowed down.
Go ahead, Alex.
Relating to the budget, so what is that going to mean when we take down, I recall from when we went through the budget process, we had more than the required, our minimum required from a percentage standpoint. Can you talk through what's that gonna mean when we do reduce that and then, use those funds and then, hold on, I got multiple parts. And then also, my big question, and for one of you two, is gonna be, we have done a phenomenal job at sucking up the costs that have been passed on to us from our water supplier, and not putting them onto the residents. We've been able to do that because we have had that excess, those excess funds sit there. Will this change that? And what will that look like?
I'll answer the first question. General fund is the one with the 15%. This does not touch general fund at all.
Okay, so the other funds don't have a percentage mandate,
No.
we just like to talk about it. Got it.
Yeah. So as far as passing along the costs, I mean, I'll make a recommendation. And that's up to city council to take that recommendation. But eating that increase to us for 3 years, in my opinion, I don't know that we're going to be able to do that this next budget year.
And I'll even add on to that. We've made it very clear that we can't sustain this. Every time we do it, we say, okay, this is the last time.
Well, I don't think, my recollection is we didn't say it was the last time, we said it could be.
Could be the last.
And of course, it could always be. I mean, we could raise rates, right, as we saw prior administrations do. And I'm not, I am in the boat that I think we are doing good. And because like you said, 3 years, like I said, we've done a phenomenal job on that front. And I would like to, at least be bracing for if there's going to be a change there. And some of that is, at some point, I hope, we are going to no longer be in a point where we're constantly hearing that, Raymore doesn't pay this, or Grandview doesn't pay that, or whatever, because Belton's water rates are apparently so atrocious, which I think is somewhat of a myth anyways. But my point being that I think it's important for us to point out that this is going to eat into that a little bit.
It'll eat into the cash balance, and I'll give you that real quick. So my estimated ending cash for water was 8.9, so we're going to go down to 665 if all goes according to plan. Wastewater was 11, we'll take that down to 8, and the capital improvement was 5.3, and we'll take it down to 3.3. So with water and wastewater, you still have a significant cash balance. Again, I'm not recommending to continue to eat up the increase in costs that we're receiving.
Maybe not the full cost, but it sounds like we might have the ability to do some of it.
Can I?
Sorry, Brett's been waving.
But the other thing that's, if I'm understanding, is we're also putting some of the possibility for maintaining their water bill on the consumer to watch what they're using and adjust what they're doing so that they themselves can also do something to help lower their bill. Is that my understanding?
They absolutely
Yes,
can.
that is correct.
Because right now, they won't even know they have a leak until it's been going on for at least a month. And that's significant.
So
Sorry, Patty, go ahead.
this can help the consumer who is informed
Correct.
to help monitor to where they have some control over their water bill. Not
Right.
significant, but enough to make an adjustment.
Sure.
To where any benefit or lack of that they may lose because we're not able to eat, they may be able to adjust it to keep it down to the current level. Okay, I just wanted to double check that I heard that correctly.
I'm shifting gears just a little. I'm on the council action report under policy considerations because it indicates the project will change the method of collecting data from water meters and provide the ability to turn off and on water to properties. It will cause the finance department to become responsible for these actions and how to handle after-hours calls. And so I just wondered what that involves, handling after-hours calls.
So currently, what happens when there is a shut-off, if someone wants to pay their bill after 5 o'clock and they pay online, they can generally call the the emergency line, and we can go back out, call somebody into work, and go out there and turn that on. The change in this is that, as you can see in that meter, there's nothing for the Public Works Department to turn on and off. It's all going to be controlled by the Finance Department.
Right.
So the policy change is going to be, and we haven't talked about how we're actually going to do this yet.
My question.
I'll get the phone call, I guess, and I'll turn it on from home.
Well, that was what I was wondering.
One of the keys to this is that somebody has to be at home when you turn the water on, because we run into too many situations where if nobody's home, we turn the water on, we have to sit there and watch the meter and see if the meter keeps spinning, because most of the time it will spin just a little bit, but if it keeps spinning, that means there's a water leak inside the house, and then we flood the house. And so we want to make sure somebody's there. And so if somebody gets home from work on Friday night at 9 or 10 o'clock and they want to go online real quick and pay the bill and then say, hey, city, turn my water back on right now, that's something that we're going to come up with a policy and how we're going to have to handle after hours turn on. You know, how far do we go to do that?
And right now, we've got 5 billing cycles, so we're doing shut-offs like every week. This is going to allow us to, and we've talked about this before, go to 1 billing cycle. I can't remember who it was a couple of years ago, asked the question, will the customers have to go online and fill out their, or re-enter their credit card or debit card or checking account information? Yes, they're gonna have to do that. We're gonna try to make that as easy as possible, but we'll also be able to give them a PDF of their bill where right now we can't do that. And then they'll have accounts that they can log into, like Greg was talking about, to be able to see their usage. So the people that are on electronic billing don't get a bill. They just get, they can log in and just see an amount due, but they can't see anything else. So that entire process is gonna change.
So it could be more efficient in the long run.
Absolutely. Yeah. Much better for the customer.
Go ahead, Joe.
I was just going to say, this is designed to give more information and more transparency to the consumer and allow them to again, make choices. There is another component that is going to be helpful, though, is the unusual usage reports that are going to be generated by this. You don't necessarily have to be monitoring your water usage every day to catch a leak, because we're going to get some of those kind of a tip off from the company saying, hey, this property, here's your usage report on the properties that are having unusual usage, and then we can kind of reach out and say, hey, you may have a water leak, you might want to, get it looked into, so that way it's not, again, 30 days down the line.
Yeah, and we do that right now. I just want to throw that out there. However, we go through a report that's printed out, and we look at every single bill and check and see if we set like a threshold of a certain amount, and if it's over that, then we will do some research and then call the customer. We're not going to have to do that part anymore either.
Go ahead.
I have a couple questions. One piggybacks on what you just said, and one piggybacks on Patty's question. So, talking about the real-time data, almost real-time data, it says that the endpoints will transmit the information to the contractor for constant monitoring. Then the data will be sent to the city for billing. The contractor's not actually going to monitor it, right? They're going to collect the data and make it available to us in a portal, correct?
No, they're going to monitor it every day. So they're the ones going to alert us if a household is constantly on, if there's a break, if there's a problem. That's their job. And when we do the maintenance one next, I'll explain that they're going to actually monitor to make sure it's still transmitting the signal, that the meters are still working, that everything's functional. That's what their component in this is. So they have a system set up for monitoring our water network every day.
So this is a step beyond just like the system, and then the data feeds into their portal that we have access to. They'll have people monitoring it, or?
Well, of course, no one's going to sit there and watching every meter to make sure what they're doing, but they're going to have a system operating, and it's going to bring up alerts, and they're going to be the ones alerted to make the calls to us to say, you need to look at these items.
Okay, so currently, though, our water data comes directly to us on a delay. Okay. Just the idea of them monitoring it and not it just being like a tech solution, right? Like, I don't know, I guess that's...
It's mainly a tech solution that's monitoring it and then sends alerts to you telling you something's up.
Okay, I won't beat a dead horse on that. Going back to Patty's question, let me think of how it tied to that. With the finance department then being in charge of after-hours calls, shut-offs, and turn-back-ons, what do we foresee this? How do we see this? Foresee this impacting water department staffing? How many folks do we have right now going out and manually doing turn-ons and shut-offs? What's this going to look like?
So basically, right now in our staff, we have 2 people that are doing turn-on, turn-offs that's their job, you want to say?
Yeah.
But when we have to do turn on, turn offs, the whole water department shuts down and does them. And so we're talking about 8 people. But there's a lot of other things that we have not done in our water utility that are desperately needed to start doing again. I mean, the basics of us turning all our valves, flushing all our hydrants, fixing all our hydrants, and doing all that basic work, going to our towers, checking our pumps, greasing our pumps, and doing all the things that we're supposed to do have to be put on the side when it's time to shut off meters. It's also put on the time when we have to turn them back on. And so a lot of that work is put on the back burner while we're doing this other work of turning on and off meters. And so it's really not a question, are we going to have like excess staff in Public Works? There is plenty of work in our water system that needs to be done on a daily basis that is just not getting done.
Thanks.
Go ahead, Brett.
Just curious, how many after hours turning on the water do you get a month?
That's a good question. I mean,
Thank you.
not very, I would say not very many. I mean,
It's not a regular occurrence.
I mean, it's not significant.
I would say it's not significant today, but if we create a process to do it, because if you're at work and you come home and the water's off, and you want to go electronically make that payment, so, oh, I forgot, want to go make that payment, and I'd like to get it right back on, and there's a process to do that, I think someone would like to utilize that process.
Or even initiate service.
Initiate
When
service.
you're new. When I moved here, nobody would come turn it on the weekend. But none of you were here, so I'm not pointing any fingers. Go ahead.
So there'll be more efficiencies in general, it sounds, across the board, potentially some we haven't even realized yet, which is great, I'm sure. To Councilmember Thompson's point, there will probably be some problems we are not anticipating as well that will come up as any change occurs. But speaking of efficiencies, I mean, do we think this we'll be able to better predict our water costs as well, like as a whole city? Is that going to change or help us at all in that? You know what I mean? When it comes to purchasing because we're in the unfortunate situation, we have to purchase water, instead of having our own. So is that going to help us in any way there?
I think so. Especially when it comes to the leaks. If someone's got a 30,000 gallon leak, I usually err on the side of I want to help that person, even though we've already paid for it. We do give adjustments for that. We definitely give adjustments for sewer, and it just depends on the situation. But if we can detect that within a day instead of 30 days, that'll significantly reduce our loss for sure.
Well, I was just thinking of trying to cost out predictions, when we go through budget process, we're trying to predict
Right.
what the next year is going to cost us.
Yeah.
We might have some bit more accuracy, I'm assuming.
Yes,
The
because if we
biggest-
don't have, if we know that we can catch those, like right now, I have no idea how to predict who's going to have a leak and when and for how long. And, but if we know we can set those alerts and we will be notified, absolutely we can budget more precise.
I can tell you the biggest differentiation year after year of us purchasing water has to strictly do with temperature and amount of rain in the summer. And so the more rain we get in the summer, the less water usage there is. If it's a dry, hot summer and people are out with hoses, with sprinklers, filling pools and doing that sort of activity, our water usage goes up dramatically.
Which in turn, our revenue goes up too. So,
Touche. And then this is I'm just genuinely curious. So does it use lasers, or how the heck does it look at the water?
I'm not really that sure.
Science.
Yeah, right? Science. Yeah, I
Or
just
math.
was curious how it's looking at it.
It has to be some sort of sonar radar or something like that that does it.
All right.
All right. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Number 8, motion approving resolution number 2025-070.
A resolution approving a contract with Utility Service Group Incorporated for the water meter infrastructure replacement maintenance project in the not-to-exceed amount of $169,000 per year.
Present.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. You're up again.
So this is the maintenance of the system that we're installing. One of the good parts about this is the company is going to maintain it for a 15-year period. And it is a one-year contract with 15 or 14 renewals to it. And basically, the reason this renewals is because the cost of maintenance, of course, every year goes up. And so we have a maximum cap of 5%, but it's a negotiated value of what it could go up every year, depending on what the CPI happens that year. And so the company will be able to go monitor and have someone who will come to town, and they will monitor if something's not reading. So if that endpoint's not sending the signal, they'll be able to go to make that repair and be able to move it forward. Even if it's an endpoint's not reading sending a signal, the water meter is still collecting the data, and it's just not being transmitted. So if you're saying, well, does that mean the person doesn't get a water bill? As soon as they get it fixed, it'll transmit all the data, and so it'll be all back up to date. They have a minimum requirement of making sure there's 97% of them run at any one time, but they're going to have someone in town probably every week or every other week to maintain our system, and so I don't foresee any problem with it fully running the whole time. We have endpoints, and we don't really have a big issue with going out of service that much, and so we make those repairs and do that work. It's an excellent contract to take care of this. I was going to tell you something else, but I just can't remember what it was. Yeah, I know, I got the same problem. And so I'll think of it if you got any questions.
Well, we talked about this a lot, so I can't imagine there's any more.
Oh, the number one thing that controls, people ask me about the age, why is it 15 years and why not the full 20-year life of what the meters are? The key component in this whole operation is the battery that sits inside it. There's a couple sets of batteries. And so these batteries are batteries that are not something you can go in there and just pull out and put new batteries in. These are batteries that are outdoor batteries. So if you ever seen them, they have, it looks like clay mashed around them, and they are sealed. So there's no way to actually go and replace the batteries in them. So when it's time to replace it, you just take the endpoint and you toss the whole thing, you put a whole new set of equipment in there. It's aimed to be at least 15 years. They'll guarantee for 15 years. Ours are past 15 years, and they still operate. We have some that are 20 years. And so we anticipate this going the full 20 years, and in 20 years from now, we'll have to do another replacement.
So I'm assuming this will be in your budget every year?
Every year.
Any other questions? All right. Oh. Go ahead.
How much are we expecting then every year, the same amount, that current, or is it more?
Yeah,
the
this
first
is an
year?
annual contract that it'll go up probably about 2 to 3% a year.
Yeah, other than you mentioned the percentage cost, but so roughly, okay,
Roughly 170.
okay.
Any other questions? Go ahead, Alice.
It says that we're using 1980s technology, so our current meters, what is their typical lifespan for when we have to wholesale replace them?
Well, all meters are generally going between 15 and 20 years.
Okay.
Some people's meters, the technology we're using, the meters are newer than that. The technology for transmitting is 1980s. The meters are newer. So our meters, mechanical meters, these will be non-mechanical meters, and so they should last 20 years without a problem.
So this is like a typical cadence for the whole system to need upgrading if these last 15 years serviced, maybe 5 more years on top of that on call, that's normal.
That's absolutely normal. This is a normal water system, how everything operates.
Gotcha. Thanks.
Last call. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Motion passes. G, consent agenda. One motion, non-debatable, to approve the recommendations noted. Any member of the council may ask for an item to be taken from the consent agenda for discussion and separate action.
Present.
Second.
I got a motion and a second. Anybody want to talk about anything?
Number 3, please.
Any others? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Number 3, motion approving resolution number 2025-071.
A resolution approving change order number 1 with TC Fuller Incorporated for the precast cluster vault installation project for unanticipated work in the not-to-exceed amount of $51,213.53.
Present.
Got a motion and a second. You're up.
You did not have to stand back up for this, but thank you.
Do you want to make a presentation then?
No, I don't need one. Okay, so, basically, I'm just, when did we find, the buried electrical line?
When the contractor went out there to start doing the work, the line was supposed to be, as the as-built plans, was supposed to be around the area. And then when he started digging, they found the line.
So
It was
did
not-
we, so it was prior to, in a sense, but it was after we already had a contractor on site. I guess I'm just trying, did we not like, I mean, I know we're a municipality, but did we not do the 811 dig or whatever? And,
So this is, 811's for public use, so this is on a private, this is like inside, like your yard, doing the work you'd have. If we called 811, they couldn't go out and find it, because they go by your plans, and the plans they would use are the plans we have.
well, don't they also, am I misunderstanding this incorrectly? Don't they have devices that look for those electrical fields, et cetera, that then tell them where they're at?
Basically, how that works is you have to hook it onto the end of the line, and then you can try to trace it out and find it. And so we just had the as-built plan, and so the as-built plan says it goes out here, and so we just figured it was as it was built. And apparently it was not.
Just trying to understand how we had that surprise come up, that was all. Okay, I'm good.
Any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Communications from city council.
Just want to say the Harris speaker and Slater look really good. They're done, and I understand they're moving on, and nothing else.
So I just want to say, driving down Markey Parkway, it's very nice addition. It's especially fun when you're using your GPS to try to navigate. It has not figured out that the road is there, and it gets very mad at you. So if you haven't done it, I'd just go down the road with your GPS and see what happens. It's pretty fun.
That'll be about 2 weeks.
2 weeks, okay. Well, so you got 2 weeks, well, maybe a week now, because we've had it on so you got about a week before it figures it out. But and I imagine that will also increase the use of it in general, because right now people probably blindly follow their GPS, and that will probably start using it for better routes, and that's what I've used it for. And I will say, though, it will be infinitely nicer when we get that road straightened out at North Scott. But overall, I'm just happy to have that project done. I have a parks update. So if you didn't see on Facebook or in person, our pickleball courts are officially open, and they look really nice. And they've always, it's amazing how many people were there to play immediately and still are to this day. So obviously it was a great addition, and something I would encourage you to check out if you haven't seen, and maybe even give pickleball a try. I don't know. The farmer's market, I believe it's still going. You know what? Now I need to double check. When is it? Yeah, it
was there
wouldn't end
last week.
yeah, it was there last week. It wouldn't end in the middle of the month. Is this the last month? I need to double check on that. Does anybody know if I think it is? Yeah, I think this is the last month. But anyways, farmers market should still be going on Thursdays, 4 to 7. You might be missing out. This might be your last chance. Last couple of weeks here. As a reminder, the new gym floor is being still installed at High Blue, and it was expected to take 2 weeks from when it began, which was about a week ago. 2 months, thank you. 2 months from when it started, which was about a week ago, so we still have time left on that. Rock the Lake Disc Golf Tournament will be taking place at Cleveland Lake on Saturday. Word to the wise, if you like to walk around Cleveland Lake, you'll still be able to walk, you just might see a lot more people. September 20th, Chalk the Walk at Memorial Park will be taking place. If you've been paying attention, you may notice that it is now a one-day event as opposed to a previously planned 2-day event. And then the Pumpkin Palooza is October 25th, also in Memorial Park. And of course, if you got any questions, you can go on to Facebook or go on to the park's website, or reach out to your park board or council. And that's all I got.
I got nothing.
A couple things. I would mention that the Belton Educational Foundation Gala was this last weekend, and it was, as always, a good time and a good cause. Fall Fest is coming up this Saturday. It's a one-day event this year, so be sure to get out and enjoy it on Saturday. And lastly, I think we all got a letter from a group called Belton Leadership Watch Group. Since I'm not on Facebook, what I would take this opportunity to do is ask anyone involved with the group to reach out to me directly. All of our contact information is on the city website. I would just like to know who is in the group. My letter did not include that, so that's what I would ask. Thanks.
I also received a letter, and I have the same question. So if you'd like to contact us and let us know who you are, we'd like to discuss things with you. I have been asked by the Open Door Bible Church to announce their Family Fun Day on September 27th, which is a Saturday from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Free food, hamburgers, hot dogs, and such. Children's school supplies to the first 200 kids, K through 6th grade. They're going to have games, bouncy houses, braided wristbands, and that is at 16211 South Outer Road here in Belton. So I'll leave a few flowers that were presented to me out on the table out there in the vestibule.
I have nothing to say. I mean, I attended the gala for Saturday night, which was a good time. Raised lots of money, and then Fall Fest is Saturday, which come out and enjoy. It's supposed to be 90 degrees.
Just want to put a reminder out, the train will be running for Fall Fest at 11 and 2 on Saturday, and then again on 2 on Sunday. If you're interested, Belton Railroad will be running for Fall Festival.
We will be having a Ward 4 meeting. I will be announcing the date probably at the next council meeting. I think that's all I'll say at the moment.
All right. The mayor has asked me to let you all know he will be back for the next meeting, and he can't wait to get back. So, and he wanted to congratulate the Mizzou Tigers on winning the border war on Saturday.
Yes, there was.
It was a very good game. Go ahead, city manager.
Yeah, just a couple of things. One, our streets project that's been underway is about 70-ish% done. I think they're starting to mobilize in Cherry Hill. And then after that, they'll get to, Lacey Estates area. So that'll wrap that project up. And also, I know there's been some public concern about the timing of the lights that just went in at Markey Park and North Scott, and that'll be dialed in as they get more data to understand the actual usage of that road. They'll dial it in, and we will make sure it gets dialed in, and the timing of the light will be better as we move forward.
Can I tag on to that? There's no right on red there.
There's
I
no
heard
right on
it was
any of the
because
reds.
it is not a true intersection or a head-on, so nobody's looking at that. They're all used to being able to turn right on red, so please stop doing that. Items for review and discussion. Crossroads United Methodist Church, special use permit by Mike Eakey.
Staff has received a special use permit request for the digital sign as part of a new monument sign for Crossroads United Methodist Church at 515 East Markey Parkway. Public hearing will be held by the Planning Commission on Tuesday, September 16th. Answer any questions.
Questions, comments? All right. Number 2, finance budget software.
He specifically looked down when I raised my hand.
Sorry if I missed a hand.
Is that a sign?
I guess I got time to ask. So we just had one of these before us, or in a different work session or whatever, right? This is the same one or a different one?
A different one.
Okay.
I don't,
Thank you very much.
yep,
Oh, that,
there we go.
well,
Seen that.
seen that one. That was a nice one.
And I don't have to go through these things. You guys do have an example in your packet. I really wanted to show you how interactive some of these budget books are, but it's okay. We can maybe do that next time. But in prior years, we've actually discussed wanting to have a budget document that looks and feels and interacts a lot better than what we currently have. Right now, we just have the line item that is out on the website, and here we go.
Found it.
Okay. And the one that I included in your packet was just a PDF, so this is, again, an interactive one. So I'll just get into it because it is late. And really what I want to do with this budget book is purchase it now so that we can use it for FY27. It was, this software was not necessarily included in the budget, but I knew I was going to try to find one, so I did put some additional funding in the finance contractual line item. We were able to find this. The company's called ClearGov. Their budget format follows GFOA's budget format, which is absolutely phenomenal for us. And it is an interactive budget. You can click through this. There we go. And this is a small town, so it's got a small budget. In ours, you're actually going to see all of the line items in there. Unfortunately, you're still going to see that. We can do a summary, but I really like to see the line items in there. So I want to take this budget and then turn this also into our monthly financial statements. So our Central Square software, our new software that we just received, Finance Enterprise, will actually feed directly into ClearGov. So the numbers that are going in here are coming straight from our accounting system. And well, I can update that. I can update daily, weekly, monthly. So we'll either do monthly financials or quarterly financials. So again, I will take this budget book, turn it into monthly financials, and then we've been discussing as department heads doing a quarterly report for you guys. And I want to show you what that might look like. So Joe just gave an update on one of the street projects that we've got going on. So in the budget book, I want to have all of the capital improvement line items in there with links that will take you to perhaps the location of the project, the expenses and the funding sources of the project. And then as we put the quarterly reports out, we want a status update on all of the projects. So you'll be able, again, to click on where the capital projects are, and it's going to take you to something that looks perhaps like this. You see the location of the project, the description of the project, the costs, the funding sources, and we'll be able to update council and the public on all of this stuff. We can do it monthly if the project's moving along quick enough, or we can do it quarterly. So that's just a quick synopsis of this budget software. And I will be bringing a resolution to you guys next council meeting for your approval. Any questions? Yes.
Any questions from anyone?
Yeah. Would
Go ahead,
you,
Alice.
if you don't mind, I think this is neat. If you'll go back to the first tab for Clear Docs, the budget book, and then scroll down at the bottom, Google Translate, select language. Let's just see what it does. Maybe Spanish.
Russian.
That is pretty slick. That is
slick,
something
yes.
we could not do at this point, and I think that's cool. Thanks.
Yeah, yeah. One more thing. I'm still the sales associate that I was working with. I asked her to check in to see if we could actually embed videos in the document. She's going to see if we can. No one's ever asked her that before. But I know that we can link videos. So when we go out and Mike's department takes pictures of the guys that are working on the projects, we can definitely put the pictures in the videos, and it will link to it. But But I would like to be able to embed the video, so we're trying to see if we can do that as well. So it's a complete way to show transparency to the public and where their tax dollars are going.
Go ahead, Wanda.
How will this make us getting our budget ready to go to audit? You know, how do we, will this make it
this
easier to
expedite
turn?
it, right?
I maybe I'm not answering or asking that right or something. but-
Yeah, I maybe clarify exactly what,
I mean,
yeah,
I know,
I
because
don't
we have
know.
to do, it's a big complicated process to get our stuff ready for audit, correct?
Yeah, the budget doesn't really have
I
anything.
know, but
yeah.
this will tie into getting it.
So the budget has never been a problem with, for
Okay,
the audit.
all right,
Yeah.
okay.
because we have to
There's a-
have the
There's a
budget.
question in here, but it's, you know, it's 8:30, so I'll think of it and then
Yes,
ask you.
yes, thank
right.
you.
Go ahead, Alex.
What's the cost on this?
15, we're actually going to get it prorated for this year. There's a startup cost of $62.50, and then we're going to get it prorated for, so total for the first year, 15, and then it's 15 every year after.
And this will be a website essentially, right? I mean, no different than if I go out onto the Belton website, I
Right.
look at what projects we're working on, et cetera.
Yep.
And, so at any point, anyone can say, hey, what's it costing us for water? And,
Right.
you know, follow the.
Yeah, they can
follow the
look at
money.
that expense line item. And I'm glad you brought that up. I want to turn this back to English real quick. Well, I guess it's in more, it would be more, no, it is in this document. So one thing I would really like to do, let's just pretend that this is a capital line item here. I want a link on that 75,000 so that the taxpayer can see exactly what that paid for, and we can take them to perhaps what was purchased.
I really like that because
yeah.
right now it is such a pain to flip back and forth between line items.
Yep.
Okay.
So this is going to be incredibly transparent and
Yeah, if you want to find out why we put, you know, $5 million into general fund and then moved 6 million or whatever, like it becomes such a follow the rabbit hole. Okay.
and anything else you guys can think of that you might want to see in here, let me know.
And sorry for not remembering. I legitimately don't remember, so I'm going to ask my go-to question. Did we budget for this?
No, but I said that from the very beginning.
Oh, I missed that.
We
I
didn't budget
apologize.
specifically for this software, but I did put a little bit extra in the finance department contractual line item, just in case I found something. So this is going to be for the FY27 budget. Budget document, purchasing it in FY26, but I want to use it to prepare the FY27 budget. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to get it until,
And you're bringing this to us specifically because it's just over your budget number. Because
no, I'm bringing it to you because there's an agreement that needs to be signed.
The contract.
Okay. I was going to say because it's within the purview of the city manager, but okay.
It's within my purview as well, but
Okay. That's what I couldn't.
In
I was
the-
like, man, I think it is, but okay.
in the spirit of
anyways.
transparency,
I love it.
here
I
you
love
go.
it. All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Excellent presentation.
So I
Any
would
other
ask for
questions?
approval for next council meeting when I bring the resolution. Thank you.
All right. L, motion to enter an executive session to discuss matters pertaining to legal actions according to Missouri statute 610.021.1, and that the record be closed and the meeting adjourned from there.
Present.
Second.
This has to be a roll call. Roll call, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Pryan,
Aye.
Councilmember Davidson,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
White,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
McCallum,
Aye.
Lawson,
Aye.
Richardson.
Motion carries. We are adjourned.